Good morning, Flatirons. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Steven, and I'm the Groups Director for the online campus. I've got a couple announcements for you. One is we have Baptism Weekend coming up October 26th and 27th. We always have tons of people reaching out saying they wish they would have known. So here's your reminder to book what you need to book to get here for that weekend. The main thing I want to talk to you about is groups. Groups are starting next week, and we have tons of open spots, both in person and digitally. So go to the link in the comments and sign up for your group. Now we're going to tune back in with all the rest of the campuses for our final message in our Burnout series. Thanks.
All right, good morning, Flatiron. So great to see you here. Let's stand up together today. We're going to sing out and worship our awesome God this morning together. Come on. See, put your hands together. All right, come on, let's sing. I was falling, but you caught me. I was lost.
I wait for the light of the dawn? And how can I be sure of your promises? And how far can I walk when the night overwhelms? And how can I be sure of your promises? So I fix my eyes on you, and I fix my eyes on you, God. Your plans for me are good, your faithfulness is sure, your mercies will endure, your love will make a way, and I will not be afraid. There's power in your name, I'm covered by your grace, your love will never fail me. How long must I fight all these battles within? I will hold on to your promises, 'cause you won't let me go, and you won't let me down. I will hold on to your promises. Your plans for me are good, your faithfulness is sure, your mercies will endure, your love will make a way, and I will not be afraid. There's power in your name, and I'm covered by your grace, your love will never fail me. So I fix my eyes on you, and I fix my eyes on you, God. And I fix my eyes on you, and I fix my eyes on you. Your plans for me are good, and your faithfulness is sure, your mercies will endure, your love will make a way, and I will not be afraid. There's power in your name, and I'm covered by your grace, your love will never fail me. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Flatiron. So glad you're here. My name's Mark. Welcome some people around you. Give some high fives, shake some hands, and then sit down.
Good morning, Flatirons. Good to see you. You guys feeling pretty good? Yeah. All right. Not too good. Did you guys all go to CSU or something? I don't know what's going on. Hey, welcome online as well. We're super glad you're here no matter where you are. Guys, CSU played a great game, for real. And they got that wide receiver, number 9. He's amazing. Guys, CU was killer. How fun was that? Come on. Coach Mel is the man. I want to be best friends. If you have a contact, let me know. Yeah? No? Okay. Guys, I've watched so much football the last 2 days. I'm so tired, but I don't care. It's the best. I love it so much. Wherever you are, I hope either your college team's really good too, unless you're in Alabama. I hope your team's not good this year, but that's not going to happen either. I got 3 things for us here in Lafayette, and then we're going to close up this series called Burnout. So, hey, here in Lafayette in the room, so online, maybe you see this sometimes, maybe you don't, but we have an awesome team over here of interpreters that help our friends who are deaf and hard of hearing follow with the service every time. Yeah. And they follow with people like me and Ben and Jim that talk really fast and don't tell them exactly what we're going to say. So they're heroes too. But I want to ask you this. If you're somebody, maybe you're in a like you took sign language or you're a qualified interpreter and you've always wondered how do you use that gift, this team can use help. So if you're online as well, but you're in the area, we'd love to have you send an email to this address. It's signlanguage@flatironschurch.com. Tracy will get that and help set up here in Lafayette and also at all of our other campuses a desperate need that we have to fill those slots. And maybe you can't do it every week. Maybe you can just do it a couple times a year. They'll take it. They'll take whatever time you have and work with your skill set to make that happen, okay? Cool. Second thing it says, I had 2 things happen this weekend that made me feel really old, at least 2. I can think of probably 10, but I'm gonna tell you 2. The first one is that my 12-year-old son has like the beginnings of a mustache, which is fantastic. And the second one is that we're about to welcome a brand new class of interns into Flatirons Church, and here they are right here. Half of them came through our youth group back when I was doing youth group, and so that makes me feel incredibly old, but I'm super proud of them. So 13 interns coming at all of our campuses starting on Tuesday. Here's what internship looks like at Flatirons. We give them a full-time job right away. They raise their support, so their salary comes off of that. But they jump in with our teams, and they aren't like, they're not just getting me coffee, although they're welcome to do that. They're also part of a team that is doing significant ministry every single day across all of our campuses. So here's what I'm asking. If you're the kind of person who believes in an internship or really loves young adult ministry or really believes in investing in the future of the church, this is the future of the church right here. And so if you jumped on flatironschurch.com and want to donate to their program, you can do that, and we would absolutely love that. Cool? Awesome. Okay. I got one more thing. Last week I talked about our small groups relaunching, and some of you weren't here. Some of you were like, that's still not for me, but I want to push you one more time. I'm in 2 small groups, and both of those groups, so it's a men's group, and I lead a group with my buddy Chris, who might be here right now, but both of those groups have stretched my faith and grown me in ways that I never could have expected in this season of my life. And so some of you maybe, you're in a spot where you're like, I need community, I need people around me, I need somebody to push me towards better things. A group is the perfect place to look for that. And I want to do a little couple things, because some of you are like, I really don't like people, and so that's not for me. And hey, I get it. I drive too, and I understand, like people, they could be the worst. But I just want to push you that you might find that is not true, that you might find the people that you do like. Or maybe you've been in a group and it didn't go well, maybe you left, or maybe they asked you to leave or something like that. Give it another try, see what happens, because there's really, really good people and really, really good groups out there for you. Make sense? Check it out, flatironschurch.com/groups, okay? Hey, I'm gonna pray. We really dug deep this week, and we found one Imagine Dragons song we never played before. So we got that about to happen here. But I'm gonna pray, and we're gonna close up this series called Burnout. So God, I just thank you today, God, that no matter where we are in life, going through difficult things, walking through just normal things, God, some of us walking through great things. God, no matter whether we feel burned out or fully alive, God, whatever that looks like, I just pray, because I know that whether we're there now or someday we will be, that at some point we're gonna need these tools that you're teaching us through this series. So God, I pray today that because of how good Jesus is, that no matter what the circumstance in our life or the things we're struggling with, that today we can just ask Jesus to enter into all of our chaos and craziness and do something significant because of how good he is. I pray this in his name. Amen.
Patience only gets you so far. Light will get you further. Pain will only make your heart hard.
All right, hello. How are we? We good? Do you see what we did there with that song? Because it says burnout in it? Yeah, okay, nice. All right, my name's Ben. I'm the teaching pastor here. I'm very glad you're here. Let's jump into some big news for today, big news for my family at least, all right? Last weekend, Allie and I moved, and we moved all the way to North Dakota. We moved to the north side of Dacono, is what I meant to say. That's an unkind joke I just made, I'm sorry. We did move, though, just to Dacono. But we moved, and you know, if you've been there, like the whole process of buying and selling a house is crazy. It can be stressful. It was stressful for us. In the end, everything worked out. We got this new place. We love it. We're thankful for it. Lots of reasons we love it. Probably my favorite thing about this new place is that it has more than one full bath. Our other place had only one full bath. And with a family of 5, as all the 3 kids are getting older and older, it just made for crazy mornings. Like there were more times than I wanted there to be where I was in the shower and Allie was brushing her teeth and one of our kids was like dropping a deuce all within 10 feet of one another. It's just like a foul way to start the morning. So anyway, very thankful for this new place. The kind of place that Allie and I could see ourselves living in like for the rest of our lives. Now, here's why I'm telling you this in the first place, is because I did this thing. And I think a lot of us can relate to this in some form or fashion, but I did this thing where I convinced myself that as soon as we moved into this new place, like everything would become perfect overnight, right? I don't know if you've done that, this thing that you really want, and then you're like, as soon as I get that, then everything will be perfect. That's what I convinced myself of. Like I convinced myself we would move and then we would never be sick ever again, or we would never be in bad moods. We'd be happy all the time for the rest of our lives. We would never defecate in the same room that someone's showering ever again, right? These little things that I had in my head. I had convinced myself that what I needed was a little more, right? Just like one more bathroom and a little bit more space, and then that will be enough, and everything will be peachy. Then 2 things happened immediately on the day that we moved, right? The first thing that happened, I'm not proud of it, is this sensation that, we need a few more things. Right? Like I hate hearing myself say that out loud, but it's true. We moved in and it was a sensation that we needed more. Not more house, but like more stuff to fill some of the extra space. The sensation of like, all right, sweet, we got an extra bathroom. That's awesome. But now we probably need shower curtains, right? And like some more towels and soap and a plunger and stuff like that, right? But then that'll be enough. Right? Then you walk in the living room. Oh, cool, it's a little bit bigger than our other living room, but now there's this whole empty space. Like, what do? We probably should buy a couch, I guess, or maybe a rug or something, but then that'll be enough. I really hate that is the way I felt, but it was the way I felt. It was this feeling of like, well, the new house is great, but it actually isn't enough. Like almost, but not yet. We need a few more things. That was the first thing that happened the day that we moved in. The second thing that happened the day we moved in is that life did not get perfect overnight. Surprise. The reason for that is because I moved into the house and my family moved into the house, and the location isn't going to change who we are. That became clear like before we finished unpacking. Because our kids, they're back in school right now, and so you probably have this too, like they're sick immediately, right? They've got fevers, they're up all night long, we're barely sleeping. And then earlier this week, Chloe, our 1.5-year-old, she got sick in the tub while 2 other kids were in the tub with her. Yeah, and it wasn't vomit, it was the other end. It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. I'm not trying to be crude and just get an easy joke. I bring it up because of this. I really literally had in my head this idea that like no one would ever use the toilet while someone else is in the shower ever again. And that just changed within days to like Chloe just made the shower her literal toilet. And so Allie and I spend the next hour like deep cleaning all the things and all the people. And you know what my thought was during that? My thought was, we just need a few more hazmat suits and then that'll be enough. Right? And I hope I'm not alone in this. Like, I don't think I am. Maybe you've been there, this place you put all your eggs in this one basket, thinking that that's going to make you happier, but then it's never enough. Right? So this is the place where you go, all I need is this other job, or all I need to do is make it to this vacation, or all I need is a new car, right? Or all I need to do is make some more time for this hobby, and then I'll be happy. All I need to do is lock down this relationship with him or her, and then once I have those things, once they're mine, then that'll be enough. Then I will feel like enough, but it's never enough, is it? because the new job just comes with different responsibilities and different stress. And the new car gets old the second you drive it off the lot. And you started dating her, that's great, but guess what? You're broken people, and so it's not working like it does in the movies. Right? The hobby's a good example. You got a snowboard, good on you, that's great, but it's not enough yet, is it? Because now you got to buy the helmet and the pants, probably need a new jacket, got to get the roof rack on your car, got to get the ski pass. And now on top of all that, I'm working overtime during the week just to make sure I have a whole Saturday clear to go snowboarding. It's never enough. What I'm talking about right now is this sensation that we need more. Right? I got to do more, or I have to be more, or I have to get more, and then I'll feel like enough, but it never is. That's what I want to talk about today as we wrap up this series called Burnout. In case you missed the last few weeks, we've been taking an honest, hard look at our own burnout. Burnout is our own spiritual, emotional, physical exhaustion, usually the result of crazy stress at home, crazy stress at work, or schedules at home, or drama in relationships, stuff like that. Burnout is one of the reasons we feel tired all of the time. Right? Burnout is one of the reasons you and I are lashing out in anger, even though it's ridiculous. Burnout is one of the reasons we're zoning out and escaping reality on our phones or on our TV sets. We're just burned out, right? Spiritually, emotionally, physically exhausted, and we're not quite sure what to do about it. And so we've been talking about it. And today, for this last one, I want to zoom in on this very American concept of more is better. If you just got more, you'd be better, or became more, or did more, then you would be better. I want to zoom in on that because it always starts from a place of not knowing who we are. We don't feel like we're enough. And then it always ends in burnout because it's exhausting. Got to go get more, still not enough. Go get more, still not enough. Go get more. It's exhausting. Whether or not we're conscious of it, this is basically the motto of 21st century American culture that we live in. It's basically this: we work more in order to get more. That is the culture we live in. We have to be honest about the culture that we live in. For example, this is like 99% of the advertisements you'll ever see in your lifetime. They have this message, whether it's selling car or it's selling carpet cleaner, right? It says at the bottom, you're not enough and you won't be happy, or at least not as happy as this beautiful person is in the commercial, not until you buy our product. So come and get it and get more. Seriously, next time you're watching a game, pay attention to the commercials. You'll realize that's the message at the bottom of all of them. You'll be like, crap, I've been brainwashed my whole life, right? They even trick you into buying stuff that you know you don't need, right? Like I watch baseball. I watch a lot of baseball, too much baseball. And I watch it on MLB TV. Right? And the commercials on there all assume that I'm in a very different demographic than I am in reality. So all the commercials are like life insurance, that you better get because you're dying, or life alert systems, and then the other one is, medication for specifically men, like blue pill. If you know, you know. If you don't, watch baseball, I guess. But I'll watch those and then I get convinced I need stuff that I don't. I'm like, maybe I would be better off with a life alert system. Like, I trip down the steps all the time. That could be good for me. Advertising is geared towards that. You're not enough yet, so you got to go buy more. Right? And then the buying thing is made relentless with technology, right? We got Amazon.com and overnight shipping and drone delivery. You got Black Friday and Cyber Monday. You don't even have to leave your house anymore to get what you think you need and get it now. And so we buy like crazy. And we're not just buying stuff online so that we feel like we're enough. We're also selling ourselves online so that we feel like we're enough. That's what social media can become if we're not careful with it. Like we don't feel like we're fun enough or cool enough or pretty enough or got it together mom enough. And so we craft these images that appear that we are those things and we post them for the world to see. And we think to ourselves, if I only get a few more likes or followers or comments, then maybe this will feel real. Maybe I will feel like I'm enough. We have identity crises. We don't know who we are. We don't feel like we're enough. We're trying to medicate that empty feeling by working more so that we can get more. Maybe if I have enough, I will feel like enough. Now, the crazy thing is that in America, this whole concept, this system of work more in order to get more, it's succeeded, right? In a degree. It's succeeded in the sense that the typical American does work more than ever before, and the typical American does have more than ever before, like in the history of man. I want to read you some stats. They come from a book called Garden City, written by a guy named John Mark Comer, all right? Thankful for this book. This book helped kind of craft the series that we're in now. So if at the end of today you're still curious about work and rest and Sabbath, go pick this book up, all right? But these stats come from Comer. He points this out about America. America makes up over 22% of the global economy, even though we're only 4% of the world's population. That means 4% of the world, us, America, spends about a fourth of its money. Since 1950s, the per capita income of Americans has tripled. And since the 1950s, the average size of the American home has gone up 1,000 square feet, even though the average size of the American family has shrunk 50%. What am I getting at? I'm getting at this. Guys, we did it. It worked. We worked more and we got more. The problem is that it's not making us any happier. Because Americans still spend $250 billion on prescription drugs every single year. Most popular prescription is cholesterol medication. Second most popular prescription is antidepressants. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not throwing stones. I have those pills in my drawer at home. What I'm saying is that since the 1950s, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, ADHD, depression, anxiety, they've all increased hand in hand with our economic growth. Ben, you sound like the most depressing TED Talk I've ever heard in my life. What is your point? My point is this. My point is it worked. All right? And we work more than ever before, and we have more than ever before, and we're miserable. In the words of the wise and sage philosopher, Tyler Durden from Fight Club, he got it right when he said this: we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. It's true. We don't even know why we're doing the more thing. We got a ton of followers and we have very few friends. We work a lot of hours and the hours are working us over. We got a ton of stuff, but we have very little understanding of who we are at the end of the day. We work more than ever before, we have more than ever before, and we're miserable. And so is there any hope for us? If you're one of those people out there, it's like, yeah, I don't ever feel like I'm enough, and yeah, I am pursuing that feeling in my work or in my quality of life and my stuff. Is there hope for us? Is there a way for us to step out of this hamster wheel of more, and then you'll be enough? And the truth is, yes, there is a way to step out of that hamster wheel. It's actually one of the reasons that God commands you and I to take a Sabbath, which is what we've been talking about throughout this series. All right, if you're new here, the word Sabbath, it's a weird churchy word. I admit that, all right? Don't let it put you off. A Sabbath just means a weekly day of rest, all right? Anytime I say Sabbath, that's what I mean, a weekly day of rest, a day where you don't work. All right, my question for us today is this: how might a weekly day of rest help us with this endless pursuit of more and this endless feeling that we're never enough? That's what I want to answer. But to explain that, you and I got to become Bible nerds real quick, just for a minute, all right? So you can put on your imaginary suspenders and pocket protectors and WWJD bracelets or whatever, and we'll study the Old Testament real quick, all right? So taking a Sabbath, all right, taking a day off of work every single week, this is one of the 10 commandments. We've talked about that in here before, all right? What you might not know are there are two sets of 10 commandments in the Bible, right? There's one in Exodus and there's one in Deuteronomy. Commandments don't change, but the language around them changes because they're written to different people in different situations. And the language around why you would take a Sabbath changes, and it's important that it changes. And that's what I want to point out. So in both sets, the commandment to take a Sabbath starts the same. And it basically says, hey, work your tails off for 6 days a week, but then on the 7th day, just stop working. And don't earn a paycheck, and don't do your to-do lists, and just rest. They both start that way. But then the reason for why you would do that changes. The first set is in Exodus. All right? And the reason why you might want to take a Sabbath is this. It says, because in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that's in them, but then he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, for that reason, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. That's basically week 1 of the series if you were here. We rest for the same reason God rested, to stop working, sit back, and enjoy the very good things that he's created for us. You might remember that. That was the whole for the love of God, eat a donut. For the love of God, enjoy your life thing. That's the first reason God gives us for taking a Sabbath. And that one is in Exodus. And here's the situation going on in Exodus. God gives these 10 commandments to a dude named Moses, and Moses has just led the Israelite people out of slavery in Egypt. That happened 3 months earlier. So the Israelite people are fresh out of slavery. Right? They're riding the high of total freedom, and they're 3 months into this exciting journey towards their promised land, this chunk of earth that God promised them. Said you can live there and be free there and have a nation there and call it home. Right? In Exodus, life is good for the Israelites. Life has never been better for the Israelites. The thing to catch for today is this. In Exodus, the Israelites know exactly who they are. They've seen with their own eyes God do these big, miraculous things to set them free. They know who they are. They're pretty cocky about it. We're God's chosen people. We're free. And so God tells them, he says, once a week, for the love of me, stop working and enjoy what I've given you, because I just gave you freedom. Go and enjoy it. It's the first set of commandments in Exodus. Right? The second set of commandments in a book called Deuteronomy. By this time in Deuteronomy, the situation has completely changed for the Israelites. Because in this situation, the Israelites are now 40 years after being released from Egypt. They are not riding the high of total freedom anymore. They are not fresh out of slavery, and they have still not arrived in their promised land. Been wandering around the desert for 40 years. Got to imagine there was an entire generation of men and women that were so excited to get to this promised land. They all died off. Right? There's a whole other generation. They're in their 30s and their 40s, and all they have ever known is wandering around the desert. On top of all this, their fearless leader Moses, who's been giving them directions the whole time, he's on his deathbed. The thing to catch is that in Exodus, life is good for the Israelites. In Deuteronomy, they are not in good headspace anymore. They're starting to spin out. They're losing trust in Moses. They're losing trust in God. They're starting to grumble amongst themselves, and they're starting to say things like, maybe we should just go back to Egypt. All right, sure, we were slaves. Sure, we were worked to death, but at least we weren't wandering around the desert. Why would a nation of people ever consider walking back to slavery? The only answer I can think of for that is because the Israelites don't know who they are anymore. 40 years is a long time. That's enough for you to lose your identity. And so they're going, well, maybe we aren't God's chosen people, and maybe our freedom is a fluke, and maybe really all we're good for is slavery. They're having an identity crisis. And so Moses, on his deathbed, he gives them a sermon, basically, like what I'm doing right now. That's what the book of Deuteronomy is. And he retells them their own story. He's trying to remind them of who God is, remind them of who they are. And as he's retelling the story, he goes through the 10 Commandments again. When he gets to Sabbath, the reason for why they should take a Sabbath changes, and it changes to this. He says, remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, for that reason, the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Moses looks at the Israelites. He goes, remember that you were slaves, but you're not anymore. And that's a good thing. And God did that for you. I don't want you to ever forget that. And so one day a week, stop working and rest. And this is important. And remember that you aren't slaves to the Egyptian system anymore. You have been set free from that because you're God's chosen people. You can take off your imaginary suspenders and all that. We're done being biblical scholars. We are done explaining the differences between the 10 Commandments. We're done, all right? Why did I do that? Okay, what does any of this have to do with our real life in America in 2019? It has a lot to do with us, actually. Because if I were to sum up the difference between these two sets of the Sabbath commandment, it would be this. In Exodus, Sabbath is a way of saying yes to God's system of life. God's system is work your butt off 6 days a week, and then on the seventh, rest and enjoy. God's system of life is work, rest and enjoy. Work, rest and enjoy. Repeat. In Exodus, Sabbath is a way of saying yes to God's system of life. In Deuteronomy, Sabbath is a way of saying no more to the Egyptian system of life. It's a way of saying, I'm not going to walk back to that slavery. I'm not going to live under that oppressive system. And the unfortunate reality is that the American system of life looks eerily similar to the Egyptian system of slavery. What do I mean by that? Well, let's rewind in the Israelite story back to when they were slaves in Egypt. And let's look at some of the stuff that their slave driver, Pharaoh, shouts at them, because I think it's going to sound very familiar to us. Probably the thing that Pharaoh shouts at the Israelites when they're slaves the most often, he says it multiple times in the story, is simply this. He looks at him, he says, get back to work. Get back to work. The Egyptian system is one that says, don't stop working, never. Come in early, leave late. Don't take your PTO. Come in on your day off. Check your email and check it again one more time before bed. Why? Because there's work to be done, so get back to work. Does this sound familiar? At one point, Pharaoh punishes the Israelites, and he looks at them, he says, I'm not going to give you any more straw. All right, that's what they use to make bricks. So go and get your own straw wherever you can find it, but your work will not be reduced at all. He goes, you got to make the same amount of bricks, but I'm not going to give you the resources. The Egyptian system is a system that values working hard. It doesn't value working smart. Sound familiar? The Egyptian system is one where the quota is God and the deadline is God. And the product and moving a lot of product is God. Why? Because profit is God, even if it comes at the expense of stealing life away from the employee. Sound familiar? So the Israelites got a lot of bricks to make now, but they don't have any of the resources. They start buckling under the pressure, and Pharaoh just taunts them. He looks at him and he shouts, he goes, lazy, that's what you are. You're lazy. Now get back to work. The Egyptian system is one that says if you can't handle the pressure of work, it's not because work is too much pressure, it's because you're lazier than the next guy. Sound familiar? See, back in Egypt, the Israelites were commodities. They could be bought and sold and traded, just like you and I can be hired and fired and transferred. Back in Egypt, the Israelites' only value was in what they produced, just like you and I tend to find our only value in what we produce, what our job titles are, the amount of our paychecks. Back in Egypt, the rhythm of life was not work, work, rest. The rhythm of life was work, work, die. And sadly, that's how many of us approach our life. I'm just going to work, 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 and I'm going to do that until I die. I could go on and on about the similarities between Egypt and America, but I think I've made my point. My point is this: it's been thousands and thousands of years since the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. And we live here in 2019. We live in America. We live in the land of opportunity and the land of freedom, and we still have Pharaoh in our heads. We still have this slave driver in our heads that says no matter how much you produce, no matter how much you work, no matter how much money you make, you will never be enough. So work, 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 and produce, produce, produce. Why? Because you're only as good as your sales numbers, and you're only as good as the take-home amount of your paycheck, and you're only as good as the amount of followers you have on Instagram. You're only as good as the amount and the quality of crap you can buy. And guess what? You don't have enough. You know why? Because you're lazy, so get back to work. Whether it's the Egyptian system of slavery or the American system of work more so that you can get more, the result is always the same. It chips away at our identities until we don't know who we are anymore. We never feel like we're enough, and so we jump into the hamster wheel. More, 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 more. Work more, do more, become more. And it's not working. Let's pray and go home. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to leave you in this depressing place. A couple of you were like, okay. I saw your single tear too, like, oh my gosh, it's depressing. All right, so this is probably resonating with some of us, at least any of us who are like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm enough. And yeah, I am chasing after that in work or my stuff or my quality of life or whatever, right? So, and it's depressing a little bit. Like, it's always kind of depressing to see the reality that we're living in. All right? But in any situation you could ever name, I don't care what it is, any situation you could name, Jesus brings hope into it. That's his thing. All right? He goes, what do you got? All right, listen, hang in there. I have hope for you. And even in the midst of this more system thing we're talking about, Jesus gives us hope. All right? That's why Moses' reason for taking a Sabbath is still applicable to us today. Because one of the reasons that we rest, according to God, is this. We rest to say enough already. To this American system of you're not enough until you have enough, and you don't have enough, so go get more. Sabbath is our way of stepping out of that hamster wheel and saying enough already. Not going to play that game. Sabbath is our way of looking at the slave drivers in our head and staring them down and saying enough. Like, for example, enough work. All right, enough work. I'm done. I'm not going to work today. Side note, all right? Step to the side because it's a side note. And also because the cameras follow me, and that's funny. Side note, before you think I'm just damning work, all right, I'm not. All right, work is great. Work is one of the very first things that God blesses for humanity. He gives it to him as a gift. He goes, come work with me, all right? That's the reason that our entire next series is going to be about work, all right? We've done a series on rest. We'll do a series on work. That covers just about all of the bases in our life, right? Sets us up with a good foundation. That's how we spend our entire life, rest and work. Unless we were to do a series about being asleep, which I think would be boring, right? So that should cover all of our bases, all right? We'll talk about, why did God create work? How could it be good for us? What do I do if I hate my job? What do I do if I'm in and out of work, or I've never been able to find a job, or I'm retired? We'll talk about all of it, all right? That's the next series. It's on work. Good job. What I'm saying right now is that work in and of itself is not the problem. All right? The problem is anytime that you and I try to seek our identity and our purpose and our meaning of life in our job titles or our paychecks or our level of importance in the company, if we do that, you and I will come up empty-handed every time, I promise. It's always going to require more hours put in, and more promotions, and more product. Taking a Sabbath, a day of rest every single week to not work. It's our way of saying enough already to that system. It's our way of saying, I'm not going to find my identity and my value in my job. I step out of that hamster wheel. I say no to that game. Sabbath's our way of saying enough already. It's saying enough stuff. Enough stuff. All right, again, your house, your shoes, your cars, your followers, your whatever. They're not bad things in and of themselves. But again, if we're looking for our meaning of life, if we're looking for joy and happiness in stuff, you and I are going to come up empty-handed every single time. It's not going to be enough. We're always going to feel like we need more money in the bank and more followers online and more stuff to come home to. So Sabbath, taking a day once every single week to just step back and not make more money or not go and buy stuff, is our way of saying enough stuff. I refuse to find my joy and my happiness in things. I step out of that hamster wheel. I say no to that game. We rest to say enough already. We look at the hamster wheel and we say, I know that'll make me miserable, so I'm not going to step in it today. And the more that we do that, the more that you and I are able to remember who we actually are and where we can find our actual value. This is one of the other reasons that we take a Sabbath, is to say this. We rest to say, I'm enough already. You are enough already. Without the promotion that you deserved, without the stuff that you want to buy, you're enough. How is that possible? This is what Jesus does for us. If you put your faith in Jesus, meaning you believe he is who he says he is and he'll keep his promises, then your most important relationship and the place that you will find all of your value, it's good to go. It's taken care of. Which means this, who are we? Are we slaves to finding our importance and our value in the amount of stuff we can buy or the importance of our work? No. God set you free from that system with a mighty and outstretched arm. You're free now. Who are you now? One of the authors of the Bible says this. He says, how great is the love that the Father's lavished on us? In other words, how awesome is this, that we should be called children of God? And then he drives it home. We're called children of God. That is what we are. Because of Jesus, when God sees us, he sees sons and daughters. What I mean by that is he sees through your paycheck or a lack of one. He sees through your success or your failure at work or at school. He sees through your Facebook status, through your abundance or lack of stuff. He sees through all the outside, and he sees down to the real, genuine, honest, vulnerable you. And when he sees you, he says, that's my son, or that's my daughter. And they're enough, as is. I love them. We rest to say enough already to the hamster wheel. And we rest to say, I'm enough already because of Jesus, just as I am. So let me give us two quick practical ways that we can try to step out of the hamster wheel this week. This is something you can try on your next Sabbath, your next day of rest. They're just suggestions. You don't have to do them, but I think they're good ideas. I'm going to try them. Here they are. The first thing would be this. Don't buy anything. Don't buy anything. All right? Not being legalistic. It's not a legalistic church because Jesus was not legalistic. Don't have to do this. I'm not saying you should do this every single weekend, right? I'm not saying you can't put gas in your car or something. When I say don't buy anything, what I mean is don't buy anything for the sole purpose of thinking it's going to make you happier today or make you feel like you're more, or make you feel like you're enough. Say enough to that system, enough already. On our next day of rest, for the love of God, let's enjoy what we have, like the life that we do have, not the life that we're trying to purchase. And so the new shoes or the bottle of bourbon or the season of TV, not bad in and of themselves, but maybe we just for a day don't buy them. And remember that that's not where we find our happiness. Not buying those things is our way of reminding ourselves, I'm enough already, as is, because of Jesus. It's the first thing we could try. The second thing we could try is this. Don't buy anything and then don't sell yourself. Right? Don't promote yourself. 2 ways that applies. If you lean towards being a workaholic like I do, then don't promote yourself at work on your Sabbath. What I mean by that is become unavailable. This whole 24/7 availability, always checking email, always working here and there, at dinner, before bed, all that stuff, our constant availability is a way of promoting ourselves at work, whether we realize that or not. Right? It's our way of saying that I'm reachable and I'm valuable and I'm important and you can't do this without me and I know it, so here I am. Just try it for a day. Tell your bosses, tell your employees, you're not going to be able to reach me today, and don't promote yourself through work. If you're not a workaholic, maybe this one will resonate. 1 day a week, don't promote yourself through social media. Right? 1 day a week, just don't open the app. Right? Don't post how your life is going and then await feedback and validation. And then don't check anyone else's posts. Let's be honest, half the time they just make us feel like we're not enough, right? Plus also, it's 15 years ago, let's be honest, 15 years ago, we would have thought social media is the craziest thing on earth, right? Like if 15 years ago, my friend invited me to their house and they're like, hey, so today, glad you came over, we're gonna look through my photo albums, right? Here's a vacation I took 3 years ago and here's the dinner I ate Friday night. I'd be like, dude, I'm going home, this sucks. But me too. Now I got 5 minutes on my way to the car and I'm checking Instagram. I'm like, Phil ate meatloaf for dinner. I like that. I don't know what happened. I'm getting sidetracked. Don't sell yourself. Don't promote yourself. Whether that's through work or don't promote yourself through social media. Again, not promoting ourselves is our way of reminding ourselves we're enough already as is. You don't have to advertise yourself. Don't have to elevate yourself. You're enough. Right, those are 2 simple ways that we can practice stepping out of this hamster wheel this upcoming week. Don't buy anything and don't promote yourself. And instead, with probably the abundance of free time we have, because we're not on email and we're not on social media, we can take those moments to remember that because of Jesus, we're enough already, as is. He says you are enough already. Yeah, without the promotion you deserved. Yeah, even though you're in between jobs. And yes, even though you're very sick, he says you're enough already. Let's pray, this time for real. All right, God, thank you so much for being who you are. And God, thank you for giving us this rhythm and this system of life that just works. God, you say 6 days a week, join me in work and join me in making something great out of this place. And then 1 day a week, just stop and remember that at the end of the day, I got the whole thing under control. And there's so many reasons you tell us to just stop and relax and rest. You tell us to do that so that we can enjoy the lives that you've given us. You tell us to do that so we can connect with you and prepare for what's next. You also tell us to do that so that we can remember that we're just enough already as is in your eyes. We don't need more in your eyes. Jesus did everything for us. So God, please help that truth to sink into our hearts and sink into our minds. God, give us the, for a lot of us, give us the courage to try this out in a couple of days, to just not get on our phones and not promote ourselves. God, and maybe not buy stuff and find our happiness in that. God, give us the courage to, on our next day off, just simply rest and enjoy in what you've given us and remember that we are enough in your eyes. God, I thank you very much for who you are. I thank you for everyone in this room and at all the different campuses that we have. And most of all, I thank you for Jesus who made all of this stuff possible for us. I love him, and it's in his name that I pray. Amen.
But he brought me in, oh, his love for me, oh, his love for me.
having such a great morning with you all. We're so glad you were here today. If you need prayer for anything in your life, there's an awesome prayer team up here at the stage. We hope you have a great Labor Day tomorrow. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next time, everybody.